Hey everyone, it's Nina. Thanks for joining me today for a new video. I am so excited to share this project with you. My project featuring Simon Says Stamps and Tim Holtz's collaboration die set called Walter is, first off, the most adorable penguin ever. And with this penguin, I made a mixed media project that features basically a penguin snowball fight. It's really fun to make, and I hope you enjoy seeing how I created the pieces that ended up being used to create this entire mixed media project. Okay, so before I get into the project, I do want to tell you how to get Walter. Walter is not something you can purchase. He is an exclusive free gift with purchase over at Simon Says Stamp. So to get Walter, all you have to do is purchase $25 or more of Tim Holtz branded products, and you can then add Walter to your cart. There's instructions here on this graphic. I also have the graphic over on my blog too, so if you want to look at it still, you can do that. So anyway, you just go ahead and search for this SKU, add it to your cart, and then use the code Walter, and it will automatically then give it to you free with your purchase. I'm going to start first by showing you how to make Walter the penguin. So if you're not going to make a mixed media project, you can still follow the steps that I'm going to show you here to make the penguin, and then you can use him to make any other projects you prefer, cards, tags, you name it. So I have the pieces that form Walter's body, and I'm going to start first by cutting out some black cardstock for the first two main body elements. These are the base layers. Then I'm going to take this little shading layer and I'm going to cut that from some slate gray, so it almost creates a little bit of a highlight. Then there are two middle sections for the body, and those I'm going to cut from both fog cardstock, which is a really light gray, and then finally that last layer, which is the tippy top of the front of Walter, he is going to get cut from white. So I have all my pieces cut out, and I'm going to just pop out any little negative spaces using my Simon Says Stamp Positively Perfect craft pad and my Place and Pierce tool, and that way I can work on getting these prepped for gluing. So for the glue that I'm using today, I'm going to have Craft Tacky Glue, and this is a really great liquid glue for all sorts of different things. Works really well on paper, but also with other elements too, and you'll see me use this throughout my project. So I adhered the two black pieces together, and then I'm going to layer up the shadow layer on top. These are really simple to put together because when these elements die cut, they actually make little score lines that show where the next layer goes on top. So that way you always know how to assemble these. Tim does an amazing job of thinking through these dies, and so I really find that something like this assembles super quickly. So after I have the body put together, then I die cut his beak and also his feet from some yellowish orange cardstock. This I'm going to adhere onto the body. The feet get layered on top of the black piece so they have a place to sit. And there is also a little highlight layer that you can stick onto Walter's beak if you'd like. And I just used the same color of cardstock. I didn't add a different color. I just thought it'd be simple to just layer these two pieces together on top of each other. So I ended up die cutting and making a total of 5 Walters. And so I repeated the same process for all of them, but though I did switch out the colors for either his hat or scarf for all of the different penguins that I'm making today. The scarves are really easy to put together. You just die cut it from 2 colors of cardstock and layer the pieces on top of each other. And then all you have to do is glue that onto Walter. Walter also has a Santa hat, or doesn't have to be a Santa hat. It could be any type of winter hat, but it comes with those two pieces and also glasses and a bow tie. So you can really accessorize Walter however you'd like. For the hat, I ended up not using the highlight layer for the body of the hat. I just wanted to have the base layer because I'm cutting this from some glitter cardstock. So I just layered up some glitter cardstock with some white so that way I could have this really nice looking classic Santa hat. And then the other hats I cut from some other colors of cardstock, things that matched well in the colors of my project. And so then I just took that hat and glued it on top of Walter's head. And I just used my craft tacky glue to adhere a small little pom-pom onto his hat for a little bit of extra special touch. All right, so let's now make a scene for Walter to go onto. I have a mirror here. This is just a craft mirror that I had, and I'm going to turn this into an ice rink. So I'm applying some Tim Holtz alcohol pearls and also some alcohol blending solution. And I'm I'm using an air tool to help me blow this alcohol ink across this mirror so I can color it and make it look like ice. I don't want to cover the whole thing because I do want some of the mirror to actually show through the alcohol ink. So I'm just blowing this around, getting the coverage that I like, and I really love how this is really turning into a beautiful frosty ice rink. And because we're using an alcohol pearl, it gives it a shimmer, which is super pretty. So now I'm going to set that aside and let it dry, and I'm going to bring in a vignette box. We're going to use the back side, so it's going to be a platform, and this is going to get covered in white paint so that way I can make it look like it's a base of snow. So I'm going to take some white acrylic paint that I had in my stash, and I'm just going to go ahead and paint over this entire piece so that way it covers it completely in white. Once this dries, then I can work on adding some additional decoration. I wanted to go ahead and use this piece here. This is actually a lid from a container. You can actually see the little seal still in there. I didn't bother to take it out. But this wooden lid is actually going to be a platform that my mirror is going to sit on. So this is going to get stacked up on top of my vignette box. I used red line tape to adhere it. The reason I chose this is because I wanted to raise the ice rink up off of the surface, but I also wanted some wood element included. So I thought this would really look nice. You're going to see the edges of that wood lid showing underneath my ice rink. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and decorate the sides of my vignette box. I've pre-cut some strips of paper here from some Tim Holtz holiday backdrops, and I'm going to use red line tape to adhere this onto my vignette box. I'm using red line tape for a lot of the adhesive. It's super easy to use and there's no dry time involved. I use this a lot when I make mixed media projects. You'll see me use it quite frequently. It's from Simon Says Stamp and it's a great adhesive to have on hand. So now I'm going to go ahead and adhere this onto my vignette box. I'll trim off any excess, and then I did use an emery board. You can use sandpaper, just something to go ahead and sand the edges of the paper so they actually have a softer edge and not that harsh cut paper. So I covered all four sides, and now I'm going to bring in some distress mica stain, and off camera I sprayed some trees to go ahead and give them a beautiful shiny green hue. So I love how this turned out. I used two different colors of mica stain, and I'm also going to decorate them with a bit of white paint to make it look like they're flocked with snow. So I just took that white acrylic paint, and using my finger, I'm just going to dab this onto the bristles of these little bottle brush trees. So now I have the trees that are also flocked, and that'll look really nice on top of my snowy scene. To make the snow, I'm using Distress Snowfall paste. This is going to give me that perfect icy snow feel, and I'm just spreading this out over top of my vignette box, and I'm not trying to spread this super smooth, and I want it to have some random applications. So that way it kind of looks like somebody's been walking through the snow here. While the paste is still wet, we're going to go ahead and start adding our elements. So I'm going to just press those trees right into the paste. The paste is going to dry and hold them in place, so I don't have to worry about gluing them in place. This is a really handy way to adhere them down by utilizing that wet paste. So I have my trees and I'm just figuring out the exact placement. I do want one of those trees to sit on top of my little ice rink, which is not adhered yet. I'm just kind of using this as a placement guide. I have it laid there. And then I also have some little styrofoam balls. These I'm using as snowballs. I thought this would be fun to use these as little snowy accents across my scene. And because I'm trying to make a snowball fight on the ice rink, these are also going to come in handy for that. So I'm going to remove that glass piece just so that way I can put some snowballs in and around, even underneath where the ice is going to be. I want to make sure I have some snowballs. So that way when the whole scene is put together, everything is very cohesive and there's no empty spots. I also have a little bucket here from Tim Holtz that I put some of that same snowfall paste on so it looks like it's all frosty. And we're going to fill that with some snowballs. I think that'll look really cute. So while the paste is wet, you want to make sure that you get all of these pieces adhered. This is what's going to hold them in place, so you're not going to have to worry about using any glue. Now inside the bucket, I did throw some glue in there, and I'm putting in a few layers of these little styrofoam snowballs, and this way this fills up the bucket, which gives me a really nice fun stash of balls for the penguins to have on hand for their snowball fight. Okay, so now we're ready to start adding some additional elements. This is a winter scene, a little bit on like a North Pole kind of concept, so I did want to add some candy canes. Going along too with that candy cane stripe I use on the base, These candy cane confections are from Tim Holtz, and I'm gluing them around my snowballs. And I am using a small dot of glue because my paste was starting to dry. It's not completely dry yet though, so I didn't want to fully trust the paste at this point. So that's why I added a dot of glue to help hold everything in place. But the paste is still slightly wet, so it will hold everything well along with that glue. While that's all drying, I'm going to go ahead and start decorating my ice rink a little bit more. I brought in some glossy accents and I'm going to trail a little bit of this around my ice rink just to kind of create some areas where there's going to actually be snow sitting on top of this mirror. So I put that glue down and then I'm going to use clear rock candy glitter to sprinkle over top of the glue. And it just makes the scene more realistic because we have that snow sitting on top of the ice rink, which if it was snowing outside, there would be snow on the ice. So I really liked how this turned out. This is going to look gorgeous sitting on top of our scene. So I'm going to let that dry a little longer, and now I'm going to work on putting together some baubles that I can put onto my bottle brush trees. These are pearls from Tim Holtz. I picked out all the smaller ones, and I'm going to color these with alcohol inks, both pearls and regular alcohol inks. So I'm going to go ahead and just put some into a little Dixie cup and stir that around, getting those completely covered with the alcohol ink, and that's going to give me beautiful shimmery shine on these, and because they are pearls, that's going to give these a really nice finish. So I did blue, green, and red. And you'll notice I used those same colors for the accents of my penguin. So anytime I had any accessories on the penguins, they're either of these colors. So my baubles are going to sit aside and dry. Once they were dry, I was able to then glue them onto my bottle brush tree. Again, I'm using that same craft tacky glue, and I'm just going to stick them into that glue and nestle them into the little bristles of the trees. And these hold really well inside of the trees, so it works really nicely. And then you get these really beautiful adorned trees, which look super festive and fun. All right, so now we're at the point where we need to have Walter and his little friends prepped for being attached onto the ice rink. So I'm going to have two of them sitting on the ice rink, and the others I'm going to then nestle amongst other pieces. And in order for them to stand, I cut a little piece of acetate that's going to be a support for them to sit on the ice. So what I did was I took some heavyweight acetate from Simon Says Stamp and I cut a little strip. This is going to be about an inch tall, the support part behind the penguin. I scored at 1 inch, and then I'm going to fold the acetate so that way I can then form a little edge that will get adhered onto the ice. And I'll cut that down so it's not as big. Now this is going to get adhered to the backside of my penguin, and this will allow my penguin then to stand on top of the ice. So then this way I can arrange them onto my ice rink and it looks really cool. Speaking of that ice rink, we're going to go back to it now that it's dry, and I'm going to add some snow around the edges. I used this Tim Holtz die set to cut these snowy pieces. This worked perfectly for making a little snowy edge, and I'm actually going to cover that snowy edge then with some paste so it looks frosty and glittery just like the snow. I did do the paste off camera, but you can see it's just covering all of those white snow caps that we die cut and glued to the edge of our frame, and that allows me to get that nice frosty finish. So I adhered my frame with red line tape onto that platform, and then my tree that is going to go on top of my ice is also going to get adhered with some red line tape as well. Just got to figure out the right placement, and then once I'm happy with it, I can press that down. Here's our scene coming together. I love all of the little snowballs. It makes this scene look super realistic. We're actually not quite done with those snowballs. We're going to add some more. But before I get to that, I do want to show you what I did to trim up the edge of my box. So around the edges, I applied some red line tape. This is right up on the top edge of the sides of the box. And then I'm going to take some silver tinsel from Tim Holtz and I'm going to smush that into the tape so that it forms a beautiful sparkly trim around the edges. This is such a fun way to add that classic Christmas charm, and I always love a good tinsel. So once I covered all four edges of my box with that tinsel, we're now ready to work on making our snow fort. So the snow fort is actually pretty rudimentary. All I did was cut a little arc strip of cardstock. I literally freehand cut this. This is not perfect. And all it is going to do is going to be a support place for me to start building these snowballs on top of. So I started first by putting red line tape along that strip. And then I'm going to lay some snowballs in a line across this arc. Then on top of that first layer of snowballs, we're going to add some glue and we're going to start stacking those little snowballs together to create a taller little arc. And this is going to get built up on top of each other. I think I did a total of like 4 layers of snowballs. And this is going to give me a perfect fort that can go in front of one of my penguins so that it looks like he's standing behind it to throw some snowballs at another penguin, which I think is so adorable. So I let that dry, and once it was dry, I was able to glue it then onto my platform here with the ice. My penguins are going to get adhered behind and in front of it. So I attached the snowball fort first, and then using our acetate support on the back of our penguin, I adhered him to the ice. I'm going to do that for the other one who's going to stand in front. And then around the snow fort, I did want to add some more snowballs to clean up that front line. And that's going to give this a really fun and adorable finish. Here you can see how those snowballs work together to create that adorable fort. I did have some of the penguins end up holding the snowballs. You can see here on the left the penguin that we created with the fun glittery hat. He's holding that snowball, ready to throw it at his friends. I tucked little Walters in and around all of the different elements of this project. There's a total of 5 penguins sitting here on this piece. I think it is super cute and such a fun way to use these adorable dies from Tim Holtz and Simon Says Stamp. You can utilize these to make all sorts of fun projects. You don't have to make mixed media pieces like I did here, but if you like making those kinds of projects, I hope you were inspired and enjoyed seeing what I've created here with Walter. I've talked about Walter. How do you get Walter? Well, Walter you can't actually purchase. He's a free gift with purchase at Simon Says Stamp. So if you want to have a Walter, all you have to do is purchase $25 or more of Tim Holtz branded products at simonsaystamp.com and you'll be able to get him free with your order. I have a graphic on screen right now showing the instructions on how to actually obtain that free gift. You just search for the product SKU, you add it to your cart, and then you just type in the code when you're checking out at Simon Says Stamp. And remember, this is only available at simonsaystamp.com and it's only a free gift with purchase. So if you want to get Walter, go ahead and check out simonsaystamp.com and purchase some of your favorite Tim Holtz products and then go to town making adorable penguins like these here. I hope you were inspired today. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. I can't wait to come back and share more with you all. But until then, I hope you have a fabulous day and thanks for watching.